first met Sylvia when I saw a beautiful necklace of hers at an auction, and I just fell in love with it right away, and I bought it. And we would start talking about the materials that she was working with, namely shells and pearls. She has become very concerned about the environment of the shells and the shellfish. We all know we are producing a huge amount of carbon dioxide throughout the planet. What the scientists are discovering is that the oceans are absorbing more and more of that carbon dioxide, much more at much higher levels than they ever expected. And the interaction of the carbon dioxide and the ocean water creates an acidity. So the pH levels in the ocean water are changing, and this is affecting how shellfish build their shells.
These animals, like corals, like oysters, are the engineers of the sea. They make these structures, and now in many places these structures are dissolving, and so that's going to have dire consequences on the marine environment.
Clams, oysters, and mussels are all filter feeders, and they are fantastic for cleaning up the water. And one of the problems they're having in the Chesapeake Bay is oysters have been disappearing.
At one point, there were enough oysters in Chesapeake Bay to filter the entire bay in 3 days, make the water clear so that we had underwater grasses, and remove the nutrients so that we didn't have this problem of low oxygen that we have today. So with the demise of the oyster, we've lost the natural cleansing mechanism that oysters can provide.
One of the things that I'm enthusiastic about is that Sylvia is using these wonderful shells and pearls, material that's very sustainable and that improves the health of the ocean from which they came.
I really love wearing Sylvia's jewelry and admire the designs of her work because they draw attention to the preciousness and the beauty of sea creatures. And I think about the role of the oyster in the ocean. It's sort of a bellwether for the health of the ocean and also cleans the ocean. And there's no separation between her jewelry and the ocean. She basically scoops up that beauty and draws your attention to the fragility of the beauty. And I feel like with her work sitting against my skin, I feel very connected to those pieces in the water, and I want to help sustain them.
That there's really an environmental story. That's even an added plus, but they are so unique and stunning. And I like big and bold, and that's what she does.
This is what pearls are like if you add modern art to them. They're not stuffy.
Well, this one, which I love.
We're so pleased that Sylvia is here, and this environmental message, which her jewelry is a perfect platform for, is here for so many people who care about the bay, and it's one more opportunity to drive the message home about how precious the oceans and our own Chesapeake Bay are. And you'll notice I have my own Sylvia GOTTWALD piece of jewelry, and I'm proud to wear it. She cares deeply about art and about the environment.
People think that we're doing the show to raise awareness about the environment, about the Chesapeake Bay, about the level of acidity in the oceans and that kind of thing. And that's never a good reason to do a show. We're an art museum first. And so first thing we look for always is the quality of the work. If the quality of the work is good enough to be considered, then we can move on to the next part and talk about context, how it might fit into this particular community. It's wonderful to have that component. But first and foremost, well, Sylvia's an artist. So we're going to treat it as a work of art.
I want to thank you all for coming today to see Sylvia GOTTWALD Cultured Design, a show of such dramatic and impressive design, and it's part of our commitment to strong design exhibitions.
When I started to work with Mother of Pearl, I realized that it goes way beyond design because our oceans are in such a dire state that in fact it should be also an educational tool. And some people say that the biggest environmental problem is actually in education, that not enough people are educated about what's happening. So I feel doubly happy doing this because first, I enjoy design and I never tire of it. I absolutely love this beautiful material, which is mainly from Pacific Rim countries or seas. And now there is this educational aspect to it.
You might ask yourself, why as a marine scientist at an opening of such a nice show? And the answer is obvious if you think about it, is that Sylvia uses natural elements from the sea, oyster shells, to design this art. It's great that she has asked me and other scientists to chip in, because she wants to use it as a teaching moment so that people realize the fragility of the seas and how important it is to maintain things.
The more I'm getting into it, the more I feel that the shells are more and more precious and everything else is less precious. In all of this, my approach is to expose the beauty of the material. And so I make as minimalist design as possible, because the material by itself is so beautiful, it doesn't need much enhancement. And as you could see, I'm using a lot of rubber, which is very architectural material, because first it's light, second it's very flexible, and I think it's a good composition with this very iridescent material. Shells cannot be improved upon, they're so good.
Shells have an inherent beauty in and of themselves. The shimmering quality of mother of pearl, the shapes are intriguing. And so, as an art curator, the original aspect of the work is the found material, which are the shells, contrasted to the rubber, sometimes stainless steel, and other simple materials. Because Sylvia finds a simple design, it allows the natural material of the shells to shine through without being embellished too highly. And sometimes that restraint is difficult to come by.